Still connecting. Hey, we are live. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Festival of Startups with me, Alex Chisnell. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's session. If you joined us yesterday, we had Rowena Bird, co-founder of Lush. We had Lord Billamoria, founder of Cobra Beer. And we had Anthony Fletcher, former CEO of Grays as well. So we had a great opening day. If you didn't catch any of that at all, then we are going to be putting up replays for you to watch that very soon as well. So stay tuned. It's my pleasure to welcome you. I'm Alex Chisnell. I'm content director here at Festival of Startups. And I'm joined today by Josh Winfield, business builder manager from NatWest. How are you doing today, Josh?
Very well, thanks. Not quite sure how it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon already, but very well.
Tell me about it. I know, the day is gone. And also joined by James, who is one of our directors here at the Festival of Enterprise. James Ashton, how are you doing, James?
Mate, I'm very well. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, very good. Looking forward to another cracking day. We had an excellent day yesterday, so thanks everyone who's in the audience that tuned in yesterday, and welcome to people who are tuning in for the first time today. I thought I'd just pop on and obviously thank everyone, yourself including, Alex, but also just to give people a little bit of kind of insight into why we're running this 2-week event and what the other days have in store. So we, for people who know us from the days when we used to run full events, we used to run the Festival of Enterprise, which was a large-scale business event over at the NEC, and we were really looking forward this year to branching out and running them in Olympia and Excel in London. Obviously, this year has not panned out that way, and like a lot of people in the audience, we had to look, how we pivoted our business in order to kind of keep going through these times. And the thing that we did, so the first day on lockdown, we started running webinars. The first day we had Piers Linney talking about the new CBILS loans, which were hot news at the time. And since then, and I tip my hat to Alex, like Brian Lara, that bat's gone in the air. I think we're on about 300 webinars. So
we've got to count them, but there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think we've been kind of expecting that every sort of 3 or 4 months we'll be back into organising physical events. And obviously in October we were told that's not going to happen until April. So we made the decision that actually let's look at the kind of content that people really need and put them together into sort of standalone 2 weeks events. So this is our first Festival of Startups. We focused on startups to begin with. There's been a record amount of them over the summer, an unprecedented amount of startups start. And pretty much most businesses, unless you're Amazon, has needed to pivot quite hard. A lot of that has involved digital transformation, new ways of working, doing that against the backdrop of reduced income, all sorts of, stress that entrepreneurs have. I mean, I'm sat here in my home office. I intended to set up in my sitting room with a roaring fire behind me, but I have a 4-year-old son, right? So that's never going to happen. It's now a massive train set and a huge block of Lego. Doesn't look similar from going into to a technology reception. So what we got coming up, which we sort of broke the day into today. So yesterday, as Alex said, we were all about ideas yesterday, and do you know what? As many great speakers as I sat in and listened to over the last 3 or 4 years, and this is my 4th business, you learn something every time you listen to these people, and it's an absolute privilege yesterday. Rowena Bird, what a warm person, and the business she's built with Lush, incredible. I picked up loads of things from Anthony's session, CEO of Grace, and do you know the one question I asked him yesterday, which really kind of chimes with how we're all thinking slightly differently over the summer. I asked him, if you had just £10,000 to spend on your new company, what marketing would you spend it on? And I'm kind of expecting, I'd spend it on social media, I'd do this. And he said the thing that we've all got to remember, it's product. When you first advertise, is brand. You've got to explain what that product is, and you've got to really connect with your audience emotionally. And I think, too many people go into this and they try and drive demand for a product, which is still in their heads, right? So you've got to get that out, you've got to get the presentation right, and be a bit daring, take some risks, and that was a really inspiring session. Lord Billamoria on yesterday at 4 o'clock, his story, people forget, he nearly lost his business 3 times. Everyone has these moments where they kind of, they sort of hit something and they've got to move through it. I think a lot of us have had this over the summer. But there again, a lot of us have spotted opportunities for new businesses. And they say fortunes are made in bad times. This is about as bad as it gets, right? So, I'm looking forward to, hearing everyone's success stories. Connect with me on LinkedIn, email me after, let me know how your business goes, right? We're going to get back to running physical events. And we want some people who have participated in this 2-week event to come and share their experiences with with the audience at our live events. So let me give you a bit of a hint for some of the stuff that's coming up. So yesterday was ideas. Today, we're focusing on research and planning. Right, you've got to do as much rigor as you possibly can when you're putting a business together, because once you start going, it's very difficult to then go back and replan a business. So we're delighted to be joined by Josh, who's going to give you some excellent tips. As an entrepreneur himself, he'll give you some excellent tips on things you should be looking for. Tomorrow, all about funding. There are products out there that startup founders should be utilizing to make sure they've got enough cash, right, to get through to their customers. That's really important. On Thursday, we're looking at sort of structure and kind of regulation. This is also quite important, right? You've got to know some of this stuff. We've got a really special session in for a chap who's the investment director at Dragon's Den, and he's going to be talking about things that you can apply to your own business that's going to increase your chances of getting startup funding. We end the day with one of the most popular keynote speakers of anything we've ever done, which is the legendary Piers Linney. Don't miss that session. Got an amazing day for branding on Friday. We're joined by some absolute cutting edge masters of connecting with your customers emotionally, and you'll definitely learn some interesting stuff there. Next week, we focus on technology. We're rounded up the very best inexpensive subscription-based piece of software that will just save you so much time when you're setting up and running your business. Tuesday, the 24th, is going to be a big day for us. We've got 5 marketing sessions on there. Everyone wants to know how best to spend their money at this time. What's working, what's not working. Things have changed in the last 6 months. Some of the ways that we reach our audience have changed. The way that social media works is a pay-to-play environment now. So you've got to know, where tactically to invest. Wednesday, sales. No new business gets off the ground without finding customers, right? And you never know if your business is going to work or not until you ask someone to part with money, right? At that point, if you've got a business. Hopefully, you've taken on board all of the advice leading up to that. You've created a really solid product that's got a really clear to understand brand. And we're going to look on the final day. We're going to look at how to manage kind of people remotely. This has all changed. Some of the stuff that I used to love going into the office. You're kind of working with like-minded people. When you're starting a company up, you're all pushing in the same direction. How do you maintain that? In the virtual, a lot of things are different. So some great insight there. We're going to be joined by the Peter Jones Foundation. Don't miss that one. Looking at Scale Up Challenge, and then we've got a whole raft of bonus speakers on Friday. So I think from my own experience, this is my 4th business. And the business I'm operating today it feels like a different business than the one I was operating 6 months ago. I had to pivot, I had to move with the times, and you learn more each time you do something. You really do. The one thing that, is universal throughout all of these incarnations, got to have resilience. You will get knocked down more times than you'll be stood up in this environment, right? So you've got to keep coming back. And my other piece of advice to people, and this really kind of links back to today, do your research, do your planning, put rigor into it, right? There's nothing that you can't learn with 100 hours of study. But once you've done that, trust your gut, move quickly, capitalize on your opportunities, and give your customers an experience that makes them want to come back. And I'm going to put that into practice. So I'm going to be asking people for their feedback at the end of this 2-week event, and we're going to look at how we can improve the following one. But anyway, that's enough from me. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to email me. I'm here, and I'm handing back to the professionals. So back to Alex, and then off to Josh.
Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it, James. A couple of other things to mention as well during the next 10 days or so, 10 working days or so that we're going to be here with you. You might have seen when you entered as well that we've got virtual networking sessions happen. I saw Bernadette put that she'd been here since 1:30. I don't know if you took that opportunity. I dipped in and out myself, and there's a bunch of virtual tables there as you enter the virtual venue, where you can directly interact with other people. So you can connect with people. You can swap those virtual business cards, discuss different ideas. This is the kind of stuff that, as James said, would be happening at a normal event where we would be at the NEC, at Olympia, etc. And Josh and I here would be having, you know, a normal conversation face to face, you know, facing a stage of faces of people there, which we could then connect with afterwards as well. So it is available, this virtual networking, before and after each event as well. So feel free to do that. We've got another session afterwards at 4 o'clock, which my colleague Kasim is hosting with Enterprise Nation. And then at 5:30, I'm going to be hosting Brendan, who is a fantastic author. I've interviewed him once before, Brendan Kane. We're talking branding. We're talking about how to stand out in a 3-second world. He's a best-selling author. He's built the social followings and platforms for the likes of Rihanna, Taylor Swift, MTV, people like that. He wrote a book, How to Get 1 Million Followers, after he built his own platform of 1 million followers as well. So if you're looking to do something like that, build a following, join me later today as well at 5:30. So if you're getting in from work, i.e. you're moving from the living room to the kitchen, then join me for that one as well. Trying to think of anything else to mention. I think James pretty much covered everything, actually. A little bit to housekeeping maybe. So can see some of you already using the comments box there. We've got Vicky, we've got Bernadette, we've got OJ, bunch of other people all typing in, Judy as well. So look, throughout Josh's session, I'm going to be here. If you've got a question, there are two ways you can post that up. You can either use the live chat function that we've got there and post a question in. And we'd love this to be interactive. As we say, for a normal event, you are going to be commenting on what you hear. You're going to be asking questions and you're going to be connecting with people. So do all of those things. Okay, I'll post up my LinkedIn profile there as well. I'm Alex Chisnell, as I said earlier. And you've also got the questions tab. If you'd like to post a question in there, then I can position that to Josh towards the end of this session. If you've signed up for this session, you should know what we're going to be talking about. So Josh Winfield is at NatWest Business Builder Manager, and he's going to cover a whole plethora of things really to keep in mind when starting a new business. It's, you know, we're in the second day here. It's a great time to be talking about that, and we'd love your interaction and input as well. So look, without further ado, I am going to hand over to Josh and let you take it away. So I'm going to focus the screen on you, and I'm going to be here the whole time as well, Josh. So over to you, sir.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to join you. It's actually the best day of the year because it's actually my birthday. So thank you very much for celebrating with me. So
no way. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me. And yes, that's right. I'm going to be talking about all of the different sort of methods of, thank you very much, Tansy, all of the sort of considerations that we should be making as new business owners when starting a business up. It's fair to say that it's a challenging landscape to do it a disservice at this moment in time. And there's a lot of different things that we can do, the steps that we can take as business owners to take those steps as sustainably and as assuredly as possible. And that's what we're going to explore today. A little bit about me. I know you can see my bio, so I'm not going to drone on, but just to give you a bit about me, I'm called the Business Builder Manager, but that's a very internal bank title. I am a sort of program lead, if you like, for our Business Builder program. Now, I'll explain it in a little bit more detail as a source of support for new businesses a little bit later on. But Business Builder is effectively an online business accelerator program, completely free and available to everybody. And I'm very, very lucky and privileged to look after that and have been doing so for the last year and a bit to really put that together. And it's been a fantastic journey. It's been incredibly meaningful to support businesses, new and established, as we've gone through a tumultuous year throughout 2020. And it's, certainly something that I'm very excited about continuing to support in 2021. I've been involved in NatWest entrepreneurship for the last 3.5 years. Originally, I was a one-to-one business coach, working, not surprisingly, one-to-one with businesses, very much in a coaching role, yes, but very much in a challenge and accountability capacity. So rather than focusing on do this, and you'll have success, my approach is, and our approach indeed, is very much, well, what are you not doing? Why is that? How can we support you with that? And then once we've sort of helped you to put that plan together, turn into that nagging parent of, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? If not, why not when? That kind of the person on the shoulder that holds up the mirror, delivers those hard truths from time to time when we find ourselves in that leadership role in our own business and that accountability perhaps drops off. It's a very, very important part. And so that was very, very lucky enough to do that for about 2 years. Worked with about 350 CEOs and founders. And prior to that, as Alex said, I was an owner myself, a founder myself. I had my own record label for about 6.5 years and successfully exited that in 2014. And between that and starting here at NatWest, I worked in a number of different startups through Series A and Series B funding. So love enterprise, love entrepreneurs, absolute privilege to be talking with you this afternoon. And I wanted to share with you my thoughts and materials. Now, I deliberately and poignantly haven't put a huge slide deck together because I think everybody digests enough of those over these sorts of sessions. But really, I just want to go through a startup checklist that we've put together, the considerations that we feel you need to be thinking about to make those sustainable decisions, to avoid rash decisions. At this moment in time, resources are scarce, particularly on a personal level, and there's an awful lot of competition. There's an awful lot of uncertainty. And so whilst we can't guarantee success, we can take steps as individuals to ensure our own success as much as possible. And so we'll go through our startup checklist of the considerations that you need to be making and the steps that you need to be looking at. But the first one and the biggest thing that I see with businesses that I support, and if you take nothing else away from this session, it's really so important as the business owner to have the vision of where you want to be. Now, I'm not talking about the 35-year lifetime vision or anything like that. If you've got one, that's great. But when I say a vision, I think a lot of people get kind of a bit worried or kind of, oh God, as if I haven't got 1,000,001 things to do. And I understand that. But equally, I think having that 12-month vision or even a 6-month vision, okay, where do I want to be, halfway through 2021, or where do I want to be at the end of 2021? It's really, really important. Even if you're at the very nucleus of a business, or even if you're at idea stage, knowing what you want to achieve in the short, medium, and long term is massively important. Now, I'll sort of go into the intricacies of it in a minute, but the way that I sum it up is you wouldn't get in your car in the morning and ask your sat-nav where you want to go. It doesn't know. It can only tell you. It can only help you if you put the destination in. And it's exactly the same in a business, because at this moment in time, there's a lot of risks, yes, but there's a lot of opportunities too. And opportunities will come at us thick and fast, particularly, as we go into next year. There'll be a real keen drive on enterprise and innovation. And if we haven't got a really centered idea as individuals, as entrepreneurs of, yes, this is what I'm trying to achieve, then we can get completely punch drunk or sideswiped by these opportunities that then take us off course. And before we realize it, we've lost 3 months going down a rabbit hole that actually doesn't get us closer to what it is that we want. And so having that vision doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be pages and pages. It can be pictorial if that's, if you're more of a visual person. But take some time, half an hour with a coffee or a beer or a glass of wine this afternoon or this evening to really think about, okay, well, what does success look like for me? And as human beings, and particularly in this country, we're really bad at that. And I hold my hand up and completely include myself in that statement, because we tend to think a vision statement, by its very nature, it's a bit of a selfish document. But we have to think like that, because if we write that document, if we document a vision, which is truly what we want to achieve, then we get excited about it. And if we get excited, we're much more likely to, one, be more motivated when we encounter challenge, and everybody is encountering challenge right now. So it's going to help us see off those challenging times. It's going to help us benchmark these opportunities better. But more often than not, it's going to give us the energy to get out of bed every morning as well. And so take some time to put that vision in place. And when you've got a vision that truly represents what you want as a person, it is suddenly a bit easier to write the visions and the goals and the actions that you need to take in your business to get you there. You document that vision, that end goal, your business as the sat-nav is much better able to help you navigate whatever route you start on and whatever route you may need to take halfway through if you encounter a roadblock. So first step on any checklist needs to be your vision. What are you trying to achieve? What does good look like to you, and by when? Once you've got that, everything else gets a little bit easier. And that's where our startup checklist comes in, which I'm going to, hopefully, we did try this backstage and I did share my screen. So hopefully this will work. So bear with me just a moment, but hopefully you can see our startup checklist. Now, I will share the link in the chat afterwards, but these are the 7 tips that we've put together. And the first one I've kind of already covered. It is all about you. You are your business, regardless of whether you're a one-person band or you are a team of people. You are your business, and therefore your insecurities, your idiosyncrasies, your strengths, your weaknesses are your businesses as well. So first and foremost, take a step to understand yourself and your own mindset. Our mindset shapes everything we think and everything that we do. And so if we haven't got a really good grasp on where we're strong, but also where we're weak, or where we perhaps need to improve, or where our anxieties are going to hold us back, we're much more likely to be dogged by those for much longer. I'll give you a great example. I spent my entire school life being told I was bad at maths. Even now I can picture myself at the back of the classroom, everybody else sort of head down, beavering away, working, and I'd just be looking at them going, but this is impossible. I don't know how to do this. I use whatever term you like. My brain's not wired that way, or whatever you want to say. And so and report cards every single year, Josh would be great if he just applied himself with his maths and so on and so on. And so I just, developed this perception of myself that, I'm just not a numbers guy. And that was okay. And then when it came to my business, that translated to, my business finances. The 3 main financial documents, they terrified me. Anything to do with finance or payroll or tax or anything like that, it would be done at the last minute, literally the equivalent of a school kid doing their homework at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night. Until a point where I sort of went, there has to be another way. And I engaged with an individual who was good at all that stuff, engaged with a great accountant, a couple of great mentors who showed me what it is that I needed to do. And when I was shown, I sort of was taken aback. I had that eureka moment of, oh, is that it? Yeah, okay, fine, there's a process to follow, but whether I was good at algebra or not does not dictate my ability to be good at finances. And yet for the first 3 years of my business, my mindset telling me, yeah, you're bad at maths, so you're going to be bad at numbers, it dogged my own business performance. It made me doubt myself in ways that far transcended just my own finances. And so everybody will have examples like that, whether it's maths or whether it's pitching or presenting, whatever it may be. Take some time to really, really understand your mindset. The areas where you're strong, great. They're fantastic. They're what's going to drive you forward. But take a step back for a moment to really, really consider, where perhaps are you not so strong? Where are you perhaps harboring an anxiety or a real fear about something in particular that you're going to have to do in your business? And that's the first thing that you need to really, really focus on, is where is your mindset going to support you and where is your mindset going to hold you back? Because when you start up, your strengths and weaknesses are your business's strengths and weaknesses. Now, there are loads and loads of tools available for that to really help you understand your mindset. We have one within NatWest in the Business Builder, which I'll talk about in a few moments. But you don't have to do that on your own. But it is really, really important that you have that moment of reflection and understand, okay, where do I pose a threat and where do I pose a real alliance or strength to this business? The second one, as James alluded to, which is kind of the theme for today and indeed the Festival of Startups, is to do your research. So many individuals that we find will, they'll have a great idea and they'll be so passionate about it. And of course, they'll share that idea with their family and their friends. And not that many family and friends are sort of, I don't want to say sort of strong enough, but not many family or friends will be tough enough to go, all right, Josh, that is the worst idea you've ever had in your entire life. They'll go, yeah, go for it. You're going to be the next Jobs. And oh my goodness, this is fantastic. And it comes from a good place. It's very, very difficult to be upset by that. But it's not necessarily a representative opinion of your market. And so don't fall in love with your solution before you've fallen in love with the problem that you're trying to solve. So take some time to really understand your market, the competitors that exist within it, who your customers are, and what their drivers would be for buying from you. For your business to succeed, as it says there, you'll need to do that market research. Because what's really, really important is if you do that research and validate your product before you spend too much time and too much money, you give yourself the best possible runway to drive that business forward. Or equally, if unfortunately that particular business idea doesn't necessarily have the legs or the mileage, that doesn't have any bearing on your ability to be a successful business owner. It just means that you've saved yourself the time and the money with that idea to crack on with the next one. So do your research, but tied in with that, don't be afraid to hear some hard truths, because it doesn't have a reflection on you as a person. Now, a great tool for that and for doing your research is the business model canvas. Now, I'm sure it's a very, very well-known tool, so I'm sure many of you will have come across that before. But if you haven't, quick Google of business model canvas. Again, you can check it out on Business Builder as well. It's effectively a one-page roadmap of your business. It allows you to see the 9 component building blocks of any business model that allows you to really, really understand how every single section of your business, from your customer to your value proposition to the marketing channels you use, ties in with the key activities and key resources that the business has to perform and hold. And you can see exactly how your business operates on one page. Now, to go back to the navigation metaphor that I've been using with SatNavs already, pre-SatNav and Google Maps, if you were lost on a road trip, the first thing you do was break out a map book, find where you started, find your desired end goal, and then trace the route that you know you took until roughly where you got lost. It would help you to find yourself and write yourself, and that's exactly what a business model canvas does for your business. So take some time, even in the idea phase, to do your research and understand exactly what your business model could look like and use that as a tool to validate. Now that really, really ties in then with point 3. Point 3 is about planning, and yes, you're going to need a business plan for a number of reasons. Another reason for a business model canvas is because it acts as a great precursor to a business plan. A business plan is going to take time to write. But before you take time to write it, and I see a lot of it, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that start with a business plan before they have a vision, before they have a validated business model. And so they spend and invest a huge amount of their time creating a document that is in fact a work of fiction to begin with. So yes, by all means, make sure you've got a really, really robust business plan that takes into consideration financial forecasts and all of your strategies. But take time to document a vision and take time to get a business model canvas completed first, and then create a really, really robust business plan. It is amazing the confidence that it gives you to know that that's in your back pocket, metaphorically. Try to think of the size of a pocket that you could fit one in. But the amount of credibility it gives you, the amount of confidence that it gives you is massively important. And of course, whatever your funding journey is going to look like, that's going to be a really important document too. Now, when it comes to getting set up, it's a relatively formal process. It's a relatively straightforward process, but make sure that you've got to grips and understand exactly what the registration process looks like before you're actually at that point. It's going to take some time. You'll have to get some documentation together. You'll have to think about the legal structure of your business. And so if you're not familiar with what a sole trader means, or limited company or partnership, or you're not quite sure which is the best one, make sure that you're engaging with an individual, whether it's somebody that you meet as part of the Festival of Startups, whether it's myself, whether it's somebody in your phone book right now that has their own business. Make sure that before you've got to get the business registered, so that you don't hold yourself up, you've taken time to understand any terms that you don't understand, and you've taken time to understand the process from start to finish, so that you know exactly how long it's going to take, you've got everything ready, and most importantly of all, that you feel in control. So many individuals that I work with, when it comes to the registration process or any of the legalities or the admin, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, they feel like they're a passenger in that process. And as a result, they don't give it the creed or the due diligence that they perhaps should. And so as a result, that then comes to bite them a bit more painfully a little bit later down the line. So take time to understand things. And remember, with anything to do with admin or registration of your business, it is perfectly fine to ask questions. Now, this goes back to the concept of mindset. And a lot of founders, new business founders, tend to put their extreme expectation on themselves that they have to be good at everything, and they have to be good at everything immediately. Now, regardless of the fact that that is a completely unrealistic expectation to have, they wouldn't have it of anybody that worked for them. They wouldn't have it of themselves if they worked in a corporate environment or any other business environment. But suddenly, business owners and entrepreneurs tend to put the pressure on themselves of, I have to be good at everything immediately. And so they don't feel very often that they can ask questions. However, you must be understanding of, this is what I am comfortable with and this is where I am not. And don't be afraid to ask questions and seek out the mentors or the individuals that are going to be able to support you with that. Now, again, the best place when it comes to registration is the gov.uk website. You can click straight through from our checklist and other sort of business rates that you need to consider. Exactly the same with the administration. So whether it comes to a bank account, how you're going to transact, there's loads and loads of different bank accounts on offer, from the super straightforward through to the more complex, depending on how you're going to bank, who you're going to bank with. Are you going to be a very simple transaction company, or are you going to transact internationally, and so on and so on? Are you going to be a sole trader account to begin with, or are you going to pay staff? If you take the time to consider your business model canvas, your business plan, and you register and you understand that registration process, the admin becomes an awful lot easier, because you know, and you're much better able to answer questions and get the end product that you want. So many times I find working with businesses, they'll go through the process incredibly quickly. Yes, no, tick lots of boxes, and then they'll realize that actually the banking function or the banking facility that they've got isn't necessarily representative of the needs of their business. And then they'll have to backtrack, and those changes take time, and they will frustrate the business process. So take time to consider. If you tick all of the previous 4 boxes, the 5th box becomes a little bit more easy to do. But really consider what is going to be the best consideration. What's going to be the best banking facility for me? Am I going to need an accountant, or do I feel confident controlling that on my own with accounting software? And if you're not sure, again, remember to ask questions. And then the final 2, we kind of looked at setup. We've looked at the considerations we need to make on a personal and a business level. And now we turn to actually growing and developing the business. The first one is all around doing your sums. Cash flow. How are you going to make sure that you've got enough cash to keep moving forward in the business? It's the thing that we do jump to the most, and yet it's the area of anxiety and fear for the majority of people. And so thinking about how it's going to flow into the business, where it's going to need to be spent, what your cost base is going to be, they're all important considerations. And if you're not familiar with cash flow forecast, balance sheet, profit and loss, that's exactly the position I was in. And I was absolutely afraid of them. And I just about scraped by getting other people to do them for 3 years. But that meant that for whatever reason, I didn't feel fully in control of my business. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So take time to consider how you will upskill in these different areas. And particularly if you're considering raising investment early on, be that venture or angel investment, be that grant funding, be that debt funding. Again, your business plan will inform what those strategies will look like, what the best source is. But take time to start to understand and build networks in those areas. If you know that you're going to go through an angel or a VC raise, you need to. That's a full-time job in its own right. That can be a 6-month process from start to finish. So make sure that if you know there's going to be a need for that sizable investment, that you're building a network of investors further out than when you need it. Equally, if you realize or you think that debt funding is the best way to go through it, that's going to be a shorter process, but it's still going to take time. And you're going to need to understand exactly what the lending appetite of the financial institutions is going to be to a newer business. So take time to pick up with the individuals and those in the know. Now this year, I don't really think I need to dwell on the 7th point. We've all had to learn how to adapt our ways of working, whether in our own businesses, whether whether working for somebody else. So make sure that you've got that flexible approach to your business, that agile way of working. Now again, this goes back to mindset. We've seen a lot of firms resist that willingness to let their employees work from home through whatever reason it may be. And we don't need to get into why that is or who that is, but it's important to understand and appreciate that things like that are going to happen. And the way that you create a business model canvas or a business plan or a cash flow forecast, it will change. It's liable to change. There is that fantastic military saying of a plan never survives first contact with the enemy. We have to have it in the first place to give us that guiding light and that ability to move forward. But expect the unexpected and be change ready. If that's the area of your mindset that you know you need to work on, what's the first thing you can do as a result of today to do that? If we're change ready, then we're going to be much more able and much better equipped to deal with any kind of change in the business, whether that's employing staff, whether that's changing ways that you have to connect with your customers, whether that's taking payments online. We supported a fantastic business based not too far away from me in Worcester recently through Business Builder. They were a retail business. They had 2 retail spots in Worcester and Malvern. They'd never gone online. They had 80% return custom year on year, and they'd had those shops for 25 years. Suddenly, all shops closed, people can't come and visit, nobody's coming internationally, which was a big source of their income too. And so after 25 years in the business, they then had to go through the process of setting up online, connecting an e-commerce platform to a website. That's scary. A lot of businesses will resist that as hard as possible. But fundamentally, it comes down to understanding, well, what is best for your customer? What is best for your business? Your mindset and your business plan are going to be crucial in that process, but you actually being adaptable in the first place is really, really important. And then the final one, plan for your future. We've kind of already talked about this with your vision. Your vision is going to really, really fuel what your business does, how you move forward, the opportunities that you take. But equally, in creating that vision, you also give yourself a bit of a to-do list. Yes, in terms of actions to achieve it, but also it will kind of pave the way for you to understand, well, these are the individuals that I'm going to need to broaden my networking. If I know that I'm going to need to raise investment at some point over the next year, and I don't know any investors, well, that's going to be something that you can start on today with, perhaps seemingly random connections on LinkedIn, or as and when we can get back to networking events, those are the individuals that I want to target. But make sure that you take ownership from that, and you understand where you're going to need the support and what is available and on offer to you. Now, just very briefly, because I'm conscious that we are sort of steamrolling towards the end of the session, and I'm very, very keen to take your questions. That is a startup checklist that, as you can see, there are hyperlinks off and you can access, and hopefully that's sort of struck a chord with you in terms of the things to be considering. You may well be halfway or more than halfway through that checklist to begin with. But if you are completely new to the concept of starting up, the freedom that we have to create something that's ours is wonderful. It's fantastic, it's liberating, but it can also be scary. And like I said right at the very beginning, the way that we support businesses through our accelerator programs at NatWest is very much to be that source of accountability that we lose when we wish to set up on our own. And the biggest piece of accountability that we hold people to is for them to really understand, what do you want? And so I'm asking you, what do you want out of a business? What do you want out of the support that you're going to go and find? Be that a network of investors, be that a network of other entrepreneurs, be that a source of business support, a business support program. You have the freedom, you understand yourself better than anybody, and nobody is ever going to love, cherish, or understand your business as much as you do. And therefore, there's nobody better to run it. But you have to ask yourself that honest question: what do I want most from whatever situation that I'm getting myself into? Because only you can hold yourself accountable as to whether you're getting that or not. And so when you think about a source of business support, really, really think about, what do I want? What does good look like? And factor in, how do you like to learn? Because there are loads and loads of sources of business support out there, 1,000,001. And thanks to COVID-19, they're all online as well and very, very accessible. And therefore, in order for you to find the right source of support for you, in order for you to get the most benefit out of it and to move forward quickly, you need to understand, what do you want from business support? How do you like to learn? And then let that shape the support that you seek. And so, to give you a sense of the different support out there, if you want support to help you develop yourself, your mindset, and really get that business off the ground, NatWest Business Builder is a great thing for you to use, or even the NatWest Business Hub, and I will briefly show you both of those. If you want that sense of something short-term with a short-term goal at the end of it, sort of a boot camp package, then something fantastic like the Enterprise Nation Small Business Accelerator is fantastic here, and you're going to hear from Enterprise Nation a little bit later on. That's a wonderful source of support too. If you're in a tech space and you want to really, really understand and develop that quickly with tech-based experts, then there are some fantastic sources of support like Barclays Eagle Labs and so on and so on. So really, really understand, well, what specific support are you wanting? What does good look like? And you are in control of that process and whether you feel you're getting that or not. And so very, very briefly, I just want to touch on a couple of different sources of support that we offer through NatWest. The first one is our Business Builder program. Now, our Business Builder program is completely free. It's open and available to everybody, not just NatWest customers or Royal Bank customers, and it really puts the control at your fingertips. We've created it. It's completely online, and we've built it, I like to think, around the Netflix principle. So you log in with an email address and password, and you've immediately got access to a whole different range of support. Now, the first thing that I want to show you is our different learning content and learning modules. And so you can access any of these as soon as you register. And so whether you're focusing on customer development, understanding who your customer is, where you add value, a little bit more about building a customer persona, or just validating and testing assumptions of your business, you can click into any one of these modules and learn at your own pace. There's videos, text, and assessment in every single module. So whatever learning style you've got, it's open and available to you. Maybe you want to develop your mindset, focus on where those weaknesses perhaps hold your business back. You maybe think about self-awareness or building a growth mindset in those terms. Or maybe you just want to understand your own mindset a little bit more. Or that's that area, as I said, which was an abject source of fear for me around your finances. Understanding those 3 key financial statements, understanding how to build or set costs and understand the cost structure, set pricing strategies for your business. This is a living library of content, and it's available to you, and it's completely free. But we also point out to different sources of support too. So if you want to hear from other entrepreneurs, you can. If you want to build your business continuity and resilience, if 2020's taught us anything, it's that business continuity and resilience are massively important. So we point out to other different toolkits and sources of support as well. It's not just us. We're very, very honest and open about where we're strong and where we're not so strong too. And we've also got a series of workshops. So if you want to learn in a peer-to-peer environment of other entrepreneurs, actually apply what we talk about in that moment with them, you can sign up to our events too. And so that's Business Builder. You can access that any time that you like, completely free and available to anybody. And the final thing that I wanted to show you was the NatWest Business Hub, which again is completely open, it's completely free and available to you. It's a series of articles, and it's a series of business support and business journals available to you at any time for you to click and read through. And so you can access it again via your browser, and depending on your segment, depending on your industry, you can search by sector, different events, market trends, and business guidance. So everything is broken down for you into different sectors so that you can really easily find the support that you want. And the final thing that I wanted to leave you with, as it is Global Entrepreneurship Week, and as this is a festival, festivals are a celebration. And if you are about to start on your business startup journey, enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's a wonderful thing, and it will challenge you and it will test you. And there'll be days where you wake up and think, what the hell have I done? But it is a wonderful, wonderful journey. And if we can help you start that journey in any way, please do get yourself registered for Business Builder. But to celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week, we've actually launched our Global Entrepreneurship Week 10K Challenge, where Business Builder are seeking to support 10,000 people to learn to pitch this week. I delivered 8 pitching sessions yesterday, and I'm delivering quite a few out the rest of the week, the rest of my team too, and we're inviting individuals to then write and record their pitch and submit it to us for a chance to win £10,000 funding for their business. And so if you'd like to get involved in that, I will share all of these pages in with you. Get yourself signed up to one of our pitching events this week. We're running them at lots and lots of different times, but do get yourself signed up, and the very best of luck if you do so. But that is it from me. I hope that's been useful. I hope that's given you some challenges and some things to think about. But thank you very, very much for listening. And I'm conscious that there's been some questions that have come in. I'll just hand back to Alex very, very briefly while I paste all of those links in. But thank you very, very much for your time, and all the very best with the businesses that you start up and create.
Thank you, Josh. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Yeah, you say there's weeks you wonder what you've done. I think there's days you wonder what the hell you've done.
You know, it's one of those things. And the one thing that I find is that as entrepreneurs, we have that expectation of ourselves. We've got to be good at everything. We've got to be good at everything now. But we never, ever celebrate when we are good at something. Classic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that yesterday, buddy, which was really interesting when I asked Rowena Bird from Lush, $1 billion business went from one shop 25 years ago to just under 1,000 now. And I just said, what did you do to celebrate that? What are some of the biggest successes you've had? And she was like, we don't really celebrate successes. We always think pride comes before a fall. And I was like, no, you've got to do it. The amount of things that you guys have done as well.
Absolutely. You know, if you don't celebrate the successes, you'll just build that sense of we're not there yet, we're not there yet, we're not there yet. But
what's the next goal? What's the next goal, isn't it?
And this is the thing, but you think about when I find that changes, it never changes in the entrepreneur, but it changes in organizations when they start to build teams. Because entrepreneurs, they'll reward their teams, you know, with recognition days or a thank you or a bonus, but they'll never reward themselves. And I always use that that metaphor of you wouldn't climb a mountain with your eyes closed and wait until you're at the top to look at the view, right? You just wouldn't. You would stop for a breather or a drink, so many different points, and appreciate how far you've come. And yet we tend to have that sense of, I don't know, politeness or that sense of naivety, which means we don't. And it's really, really frustrating because recognition is not a sin. And we really, really should appreciate our own role in our own destiny.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. I was trying to get her to believe that as well, because you know, and like you said, they're keen to reward the teams and employees. So they're giving like something you might like, actually, getting your birthday off from work. They give all their employees a birthday off.
Well, in fairness, I am off today. I have been off, but I wanted to do this. So
no, we appreciate you doing it as well, and we've got lots of comments, and we've got questions on the questions tab as well. And, you know, people probably don't realize, and people coming into, you know, the first couple of days of webinars that we're doing today, which are, you know, very early stage, people probably don't realize, you know, where these businesses come from. Like James said earlier, Lord Billimore said he nearly lost his business 3 times. I read yesterday a post from Ed Williams from Candy Kittens, and most people probably know his business partner, Jamie Lang, who's on what's it called? Dancing program. I don't watch it, so I'm pretending I don't know the name of it called.
I think I don't get a sense he's going to be on it for very long either. You know,
I do not. But you know, they just announced that they're going into Walmart in the US. You know, huge expansion for them. Yet, you know, when I hosted them for the last event, they said they've had numerous occasions where that, you know, the Friday night that they meant to pay the wages, they didn't have the money in the bank account, and they somehow had to just go out and find that money, you know, and that night. Yet the next thing you read in the news is that they got 4,000 Walmarts that are hosting their products, and it looks like they're conquering the world. So I do think it's massively important to do that. So really good point. Darren says Jamie made a fine Hercules on Strictly. I did see those pictures. He was all tanned up, wasn't he?
I mean, all I can say to that is that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Darren. I can't I agree with you on that.
Strictly, thank you, Vicky. I couldn't remember the name of it then. Okay, so we've already got, like I said, I'm going to go back. Loads of comments. Andy at 6prog says, cheers, Josh. I've already signed up and shared with a mate. Bernadette says, can you recommend a basic financial business plan app/website? It's not my strength.
Oh, that's a good one. I would actually, if you're talking about financial planning, I would actually recommend Free Agent. They're really, I mean, there's loads of
no, Free Agent,
right? But Free Agent, I find particularly, I mean, I work for NatWest, so I don't have that responsibility for myself anymore. But it's one that I find particularly intuitive, and it's one that I know that a lot of startups and solopreneurs prefer, particularly if it's not their strong point. So I'd give that a go. Obviously, there's QuickBooks and lots of other platforms available, but Free Agent I find is really good.
Yeah, and I also throw into this, like, you know, I think if you are really early stage, and you know, I've been there myself. I'm like James on my 4th business, but if you're starting out and you look at some of these programs for a business plan and it just overwhelms you. I was with Virgin Startup the last 4 or 5 years, Richard Branson's not-for-profit, and the first thing they give everyone is like a 76-page business plan. And funnily enough, the conversion rate of people who actually fill that out and go on to apply for funding and mentoring is tiny, is like single digits, you know. And I just think if you get something like this, is one of my favorites, the $100 Startup, Chris Gillibo, great podcaster, great author. It just, you know, a 1-pager or a 2-pager to get your ideas down on paper before then, obviously, doing what you said, doing your research to start with, doing your planning, and then coming out with a 1-year, a 3-year, a 5-year plan, you know, which again, Lord Billimore talked about yesterday with his plans. But just to get your ideas down to start with. And why do you think it is, Josh? Because I was exactly the same when it comes to finances, when it comes to money. Again, I struggled in school. I never got my GCSE, yet I taught myself, so that before I knew it, when I was at Virgin Startup, I was looking at I don't know, 20 people's spreadsheets a day and advising them on their financial projections. So I could do it. But when I was in school, for whatever reason, I couldn't get my head around it.
I think, do you know, it's really, really strange. And I think a lot of it depends on the support that you get, right? And it's no surprise that I did not get on with my maths teacher. You know, it was, you know, they were the devil incarnate, because that was, I just hated walking into a maths classroom. And so I think a lot of it is what we tell ourselves, but that really goes back to it's that power of mindset. It shapes everything we think and everything that we do. And it's formed when we're kids. Yes, all right, it can change at any point in our lives, and you are the product of the 5 people that you spend most time with.
Yeah,
it's formed most when we're a kid, and unless in our life we challenge those attitudes that we inherit of, I was bad at maths at school, therefore numbers are terrifying and I shouldn't touch them, we never come out of them. And I think that maths is a very, very common one, because there's no grey in maths. It's either wrong or it's right, you know. And that fear of getting things wrong as a human being is it's absolutely extreme. And so it's so easy to mess that up. And the consequences, because, you know, money, as that one point in the startup checklist says, if we get it wrong, it has catastrophic consequences. And I think for a lot of people, that's just, there's too much at stake. And so it's head in the sand.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, if we'd gone back 20 years ago, you wouldn't expect to see a section on mindset coming from a financial institution. Yeah, again, I'm the same as you. I think you need that before you have anything else. If you've got the right mindset, everything else will flow far more naturally for you.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's literally the foundation of everything. And what I think a lot of people don't appreciate is, because nobody realizes they've got a bad mindset about something, or a restrictive mindset, until the mirror's held up, because nobody sort of spends their time sat, you know, watching Strictly or the Bake Off or whatever, thinking, oh, I wonder where I pose a threat to my business. We don't, you know, we just don't have that consideration. And so you need to take a step back and understand, well, where am I potentially posing a threat? And sometimes we can't just sit back and think that. Sometimes we have to have that conversation with somebody we trust, and that we would trust enough to hear that adverse information from, and go, where do you perceive I pose a threat to the business? It's not going to be a comfortable conversation, but it could be the most valuable conversation you ever have. Absolutely.
Darren has kindly added the link to watch Jamie's performance, I think. Right, questions. We digress. So yeah, funding options. That's a good one to dive into. It kind of teases up for tomorrow as well. And like you say, I've worked with enough entrepreneurs to know that putting together an investment deck, applying for investment, putting together a crowdfunding campaign literally becomes a job in itself, and can take a year away from your life. So yeah, what kind of startup funding options does NatWest offer? Any other options that that you want to add that people might want to look at? Because again, the landscape's changed literally in the last 9 months, hasn't it? So it'd be interesting to touch on that, Josh.
It has, absolutely, and I'm going to caveat this by saying that Business Builder team, I'm not chartered, I'm not a banker, you know, and so please do not take my knowledge and resources of what we offer as gospel. Please do go and check out on the website, because I may be missing something. But certainly, startups is a massive area of focus for the bank, for NatWest, Royal Bank of Scotland, or Ulster Bank, wherever you happen to be dialing in from in the UK. It is a massive focus. We have a commitment to support hundreds of thousands of businesses to start up between now and 2023. And so as a result, the funding options are there. There are a huge amount of different startup loans available. There is a particular function within the bank setup called Women in Business, which is something ridiculous like £1 billion fund,
that's right,
particularly to support women in business. And that is grant funding done through our partners with Crowdfunder. So there are absolutely a lot of different avenues of support available for brand new startups. I can't quote them by name, so I'm ever so sorry, but please do go and check them out. Somebody within the questions has also mentioned our own Challenger Bank as well. You know, we have, in response to the fantastic products that the likes of Monzo and Starling have set up, we've set up our own Challenger Bank called Metal as well, for exclusively for businesses, and that's offering some huge incentives to startups as well. So do take a look at that. But in terms of wider funding options and wider support. Within NatWest Entrepreneurship, we have a fantastic mentor network. We have a fantastic ecosystem within every single one of our 12 hubs in the UK. And a huge part of that is connections into all of the different regional funding ecosystems as well. And so we have funding experts in, I think where are we? London, Milton Keynes, Bristol, Birmingham, Cardiff, Leeds, Manchester, Newcastle, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Belfast. And so we will have really, really strong ties into the investment and funding landscape in all of those regions and wider ones as well. So if you've got any questions, please do get in touch with either myself or any one of your local accelerator hubs.
Thanks. Tony asks, I need to start doing the financial section of my pitch deck and business plan. Where do you think I should start? And what do you think are the essential parts of it?
So I would start with your three main financial documents. So cash flow, balance sheet, profit and loss. When you've got a sense of, even if they're projections at this point, get those down. Take some time, even before you start to fill them in or anything like that, take some time to really, really understand the three documents and their purpose. Because I never used to appreciate that one feeds into and supports another one. And I never got that. And it was just like madness. So if you haven't got that yet, take time to understand the three financial documents, how they complement one another, and start there. And I won't say that everything else will be easy, because if it's not a strong point, it probably will be uncomfortable, but it should smooth the way a little bit for you.
Perfect. Thank you. And we flip to the questions again. Again, I don't know if you can answer that one, but what's the difference between a normal NatWest account and your new Challenger accounts?
So very, very simply, depending on the size of the business, if you open a NatWest account, with NatWest or Royal Bank or Ulster Bank business account, then you will have access to slightly different products and slightly different services. As a NatWest Group customer, which is what those three brands fall under, you'll have access to things like our Mentor Live network, which is designed as another source of business support on top of Business Builder and the Business Hub for things like HR support, health and safety, executive support. So really those sort of building blocks of a physical business. Depending on your turnover as well, you'll get access to a person, a relationship manager or a commercial manager, depending on your turnover. With a Challenger account, it will all be online at your fingertips. So you'll have the flexibility to probably move things a little bit more quickly, but you won't have that personal thing. Everything will be done from your app in the palm of your hand. So it really depends. Going back to that question, it's your business, it's yours. So what do you want? Do you want that person, or do you want that sort of that everything in the palm of your hand flexibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So OJ says, what do you suggest entrepreneurs do to stay inspired, especially in times like this? I think we're doing it, aren't we? I think you want to lap up what is out there, what's available, be that live webinars with great thought leaders, business leaders, experts, podcasts. I heard there's a podcast called Screw It, Just Do It. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Just plug in that.
I think for me, it's keeping an open mind and getting different opinions, even people that you would perhaps traditionally disagree with. Screw It, Let's Do It is a fantastic one. For me, particularly if you're at sort of the nucleus of the business, the Lean Startup by Eric Ries, should be a Bible as well for any business, I think. But equally, I actually think that a big part of it is distance. Entrepreneurs, they'll be 24/7 in the business. If you've got a laptop or you've got your phone, you've got access to your emails, you can do work. You need time away, because that's when ideas will propagate. If you obsess about it at all times, which is very easy to do when it's yours, it's tantamount to a child or anything, that level of care and attention, you have to have a little bit of distance from it sometimes. And so at the moment, we can't do very much, but do make sure that you're, even at the start of the business, work-life balance is as much of a priority as any of the three financial statements or getting your business plan done. You've got to have time away, because that's when your mind has time to think and strategize.
Yeah, and I think, again, utilize these virtual networking opportunities. We've got one here that we've literally just started and we're playing around with at the moment. We're feeling our way through it as well, but I can see people on there before this and afterwards. And look, as James said, live events will come again. People are social creatures. They feel the need to communicate with each other in a physical environment, be that with a beer in your hand or a glass of water, whatever it is. People, love people. So they will come again. They have to, and I feel really sorry for people, you know, in this industry, and friends who are in the nighttime economy and running, you know, nightclubs and bars and restaurants, etc. It's tough, but they will come again, and likewise, business travel will come again as well. Certain deals can only be done.
Absolutely. I really hope so. I really miss that.
Me too, massively. I know. It's sad, but it will come again, as Lord Billamori was saying yesterday. So I'm just going to have a quick look, because I think I suddenly noticed the time. I'm rubbish. Look at that, 3 o'clock's come and gone already. Let's have a look. There are a few other questions, but yeah, good one to finish on maybe, Josh. Are you seeing any trends in people opening digital only businesses, or any trends in general that you'd like to finish up on? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's an awful lot of one of the big trends is there's been an awful lot of well-being businesses that have started up. I think there has been so much, and I think this is probably just from, you know, people have had time to realize their ideas, but I think there's no coincidence between the fact that people have felt isolated, people have felt really, really restricted in what they can do, and so well-being and the thought of it has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Excuse me, on an organizational level within the bank, you know, this is 80,000 people, and one of the biggest focuses from leadership and in a team by team basis has been on employee welfare. Because suddenly you're sat at a desk every single day, and normally you'd go and make a coffee and have a conversation with a colleague, or you'd walk and go and get your lunch from, you know, Pret or Starbucks or wherever. We don't do that anymore. We sit down, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we're there at, you know, 5:36 in the evening, and sometimes I haven't even got up. And so definitely there's a trend for health and well-being businesses, particularly stuff that you can do at home. And I think Joe Wicks was a great catalyst for that. Digital only, that's quite an interesting one. I personally haven't perceived that. That certainly doesn't mean that it isn't happening, but I personally haven't perceived that. I think a lot of people aren't necessarily yearning for going back to normal, because I don't think we'll go back to there. Some things will change, some things won't. But I think a lot of people are focusing on building a business, and if it happens to be digital only, great, but I don't think people are building a digital only business in mind at this moment in time.
Perfect. Well, look, thank you all very much indeed. Loads of positive comments from everybody on here as well. Tony, what do you think is the best accounting software to use for a startup? I mean, I've used Xero, but there's Free Agent, isn't there as well?
Yeah. Xero, Free Agent, QuickBooks, they all offer a very, very similar core product, and then there are different ancillary value adds. You know, again, just before you look at all of them, take a step back and think, well, what do I particularly want out of a piece of accountancy software? And then those three are a good place to check and do your research.
Yeah, maybe squeeze this one. I think you probably covered this, but maybe Astrid's come a little bit late. Does NatWest have a pitching mentor development program for founders? How can we contact you after the webinar to discuss scaling up?
Absolutely. So Business Builder that's exactly what Business Builder is. It's an entrepreneur development. It's an entrepreneur accelerator program online. So I'll drop that in, and at the same time as I'm typing, I'll drop in my personal email address as well. So if anybody wishes to contact me, they absolutely can. However, as I've said, I am now about to go and put myself in a cake coma for the rest of the day. So it will be tomorrow before I get back.
Nice.
But yeah, so there's the link for Business Builder, Astrid, and for anybody else that wants, and then I'll just drop my email address in as well. Sure, do you know what? I just spelled my name wrong.
You're allowed. Brilliant. Okay, well, listen, we're going to let Josh go and enjoy the rest of his birthday. Thank you so much for coming on here. We really do appreciate it, and that's been great chatting to you. Really enjoyed it myself. Thank you to James for coming on earlier and talking a little bit more about what we've got planned here. As I say, next session, actually in between sessions, so you can literally go straight to one of our virtual networking tables and interact with other people who've been on this webinar and people who are coming into the next webinar, which is at 4 p.m, which is with my colleague Kasim, who's with Enterprise Nation, and they've got a panel discussion on talking about why getting the correct advice is crucial during the startup and scale up stages of your business, and where you can find it with Amanda Fowle, Dan Martin, Tony Ryan, and Lucy Patterson. And then, as I say, I'm back again at 5:30 for a 30 minutes focused session. That's all I could get in for, live from LA. Brendan Kane, as I say, he's built the followings for the likes of Taylor Swift, Rihanna, MTV, built himself 1 million followers and wrote a book about it as well. So anything to do with building a personal brand to support your business brand, how to stand out in a 3-second world, join me from 5:30. And then again, we'll be live again tomorrow. As James mentioned, we've got another full program ahead, kicking off tomorrow at 12 p.m. as well, where we're talking with a good friend of mine, John Auckland, crowdfunding specialist, talking about tips, which follows on nicely from one of the things that Josh was just talking about, talking about getting crowdfunded, tips on what to do, and also covering what the Crowdcube and Seedrs investment platform's recent merger means for the whole crowdfunding landscape. So thank you once again. I was Alex Chisnall. This was Josh Winfield. We are the Festival of Startups. Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye now.